She smiled with too much confidence, as if she knew no one would notice the lie. But he did. Not right away. At first there was wine, sunshine, and streets that made everything feel real. And only later came the strange detours, the unfamiliar name in her messages, the laughter that clearly wasn't meant for him. He didn't make a scene, didn't start a fight. He just watched, remembered, collected the evidence, until the carefully staged performance began to crumble piece by piece. Portugal was supposed to be the start of a new chapter. Instead, it became the stage for the final act. And in that final act, the real twist wasn't who betrayed whom. It was who proved stronger. No shouting, no revenge, just cold clarity and a perfectly executed plan. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now let's get started. My name's Miles. For close to 3 years, I genuinely believed what Ava and I shared was the real thing. She stood apart from anyone I'd ever met. Sharp-witted, quick on her feet, always 2 steps ahead of the room. We met by chance at a tech summit in Denver. She was representing a startup's public image, while I was brought in to untangle their cybersecurity mess. Her spark pulled me in instantly. I think she was drawn to my steadiness. It wasn't seamless, but together, we built something that felt like a life. Our apartment was modest but comfortable. Our jobs paid well enough. To the outside world, our relationship looked solid, like we had it figured out. There were weekend road trips, dinner parties, evenings spent laughing at memes no one else would find funny. On the surface, it was all just right. But beneath that surface, cracks were already forming. Ava avoided any mention of her past. The second her ex, Julian, came up, intentionally or not, she shut down. "He's behind me," she'd say, brushing the topic away like dust. Not even worth talking about. I didn't dig. Maybe I should have. There were moments when she seemed to vanish into herself completely. She started working late, claiming client meetings, returning home with the scent of hotel bars clinging to her clothes. I tried not to spiral, tried not to be the guy who gets suspicious without proof. We still showed up at double dates with friends like Jared and Lena, still played our part. "These two," Jared would say with a grin, glass raised. "Power couple goals." I'd return the smile and nod, keeping the illusion intact. Why ruin what we had? At least, what it looked like we had. Then Ava suggested a trip. "Portugal," she said. "We've been pushing too hard, Miles. Let's just disappear for a while." It sounded perfect. No pressure, no obligations, just sun, wine, and space to breathe. I booked it that night, thinking this could be our restart. If I had even the faintest clue what was ahead, I wouldn't have spent a dime. But when we landed in Lisbon, it felt like we'd stepped into a postcard. Narrow streets paved with worn stone, the scent of roasted chestnuts in the air, music drifting from small cafes tucked away in corners of the city. Everything felt enchanted. Ava lit up there, capturing snapshots of everything, pulling me through the city like it belonged to her. And for a little while, I let myself believe in us again. We rode vintage trams, dined on grilled fish by the waterfront, drank Vinho Verde until we laughed ourselves breathless. When she smiled across a candlelit table, I let go of the weight I'd been carrying. Maybe I'd been overthinking. Maybe this was the reset we needed. But by the 3rd day, the familiar shadows started creeping back. We were sitting outside a cafe in Alfama when her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, a small smile flickering across her lips, not meant for me, before she quickly typed a reply. "Who's that?" I asked, aiming for casual as I sipped my espresso. "Work," she said, flipping the phone screen down without missing a beat. Later that evening, as she touched up her makeup for a fado performance, I caught her messaging again, angled away, half-dressed, typing something she didn't want me to see. "Texting your boss again?" I asked, trying to sound playful. She let out a low laugh. Don't be jealous, Miles. Just boring work stuff. But her voice had a rehearsed lightness, like she was following a script. At the show, she barely looked up from her phone, glancing down every few minutes while the singers poured their hearts out on stage. I tried to let it slide. We were supposed to be escaping all that. But the knot in my chest returned, and this time it stayed. That night in bed, as she curled up with her phone clutched tightly in her hand, I stared at the ceiling, unable to shake the dread crawling under my skin. I didn't know who she was texting, but some part of me already did. I just wasn't ready to name it. Not yet. The next morning, I opened my eyes to find her already dressed, standing in front of the mirror, brushing her hair like nothing was out of place. I'm heading to that artsy district we read about, she said, not meeting my gaze. You should sleep in. You look dead tired. Her tone was cheerful, overly so. I sat up slowly. Want some company? She chuckled, just a bit too tightly. You? At a gallery? You'd be bored stiff. She kissed my forehead in a half-hearted gesture and breezed out the door. I sat there thinking, then reached for my phone. Before we'd left, Ava insisted we install a location-sharing app. Just in case, she'd said. For safety. I opened it and watched the little dot that represented her move. Not toward the arts district, but to the docks near the river. My heart started hammering. I didn't think. I just threw on clothes and followed. The tram ride felt endless. Every screech and jolt only made the anxiety worse. When I was a few blocks from the harbor, I ducked into a gift shop and checked the app again. Her dot had stopped, at a waterfront cafe tucked between two old brick buildings. I crossed the street slowly, head down, heart pounding, and there she was, sitting at a patio table, leaning in toward a man with sun-kissed hair and a weathered leather jacket, laughing, her hand brushing his. I recognized him instantly. Julian, the one who was supposedly long gone. I froze. What was he doing here? She'd never said a word about him being in Portugal, never even hinted. They were wrapped up in each other, like no one else existed. Smiles that came too easily, familiar gestures, intimacy you can't fake. For a moment, all I wanted to do was storm across the street, flip the table, demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and took a few photos from the sidewalk. When I returned to the hotel, Ava was already sprawled across the bed, casually scrolling through Instagram as if nothing in the world had happened. Art that good? I asked, keeping my tone steady. She gave a teasing grin. Stunning. You'd have absolutely loathed all of it. I matched her grin, but inside, something shifted. That's when I began mentally mapping my exit. I barely slept that night. Ava nestled against me like nothing was wrong, whispering half-dreams into the dark. I stared up at the ceiling, wide awake and freezing inside. By dawn, everything had crystallized. While she was in the shower, I reached for her phone and unlocked it. We always used the same passcodes, some symbolic gesture of transparency. At least, that's what I let myself believe. I didn't feel proud, just driven. I needed certainty. It took seconds. Dozens of texts from Julian, some recent, others stretching back months. Can't wait to see you again. This time it's real. Booked your favorite spot. Her replies turned my stomach. Already miss you. Counting down the hours. Miles has no idea. The phone suddenly felt like a cinder block. I just sat there, hollowed out. It wasn't some random coincidence. She'd choreographed everything. The vacation? Just a distraction. She'd arranged for Julian to be in Portugal, too. New backdrop, same betrayal. They thought I'd keep playing the fool. I forwarded every message, every thread to myself. Dates, times, the whole mess. Then I carefully wiped the evidence from her device. No trace left behind. When she walked out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, she found me sitting there, her phone in my hands. You okay? She asked, smiling like it was just another morning. "Yeah," I said, setting the phone softly on the nightstand. "Was thinking we could switch things up today. Do something different." Her face lit up. "Finally loosening up, huh?" I smiled too, but my mind was already somewhere else. As she rambled about cafes and sightseeing, I quietly booked a one-way flight home beneath the table. One seat. That's all that mattered. Then I rang the hotel front desk, told them I'd be checking out early. "Family emergency," I said. The words sounded foreign coming out of my mouth. I kept it together, cracked jokes, played along. She had no idea. Later that night, once she was asleep, I packed in silence. Passport, charger, essentials. I sat at the desk by the window and wrote a note. Simple. Honest. "Ava, I know everything. Enjoy the rest of Lisbon. You won't be hearing from me again. Miles." I folded it neatly and left it on her pillow. Then I walked out without glancing back. The plane ride was quiet. I stared out the window the whole time, growing lighter with every mile. No texts. No explanations. I blocked her number before I even reached the gate. By the time I landed in Chicago, my phone was flooded. Unrecognized numbers, voicemails, frantic messages. I ignored all of them. I knew what to do. First, I emptied every joint account we had, moved it all into mine. Then I called a locksmith, changed the locks before even opening my suitcase. After that, I boxed up every last trace of her, clothes, skincare, heels, and left them neatly outside the apartment door. I locked the door behind me and sat on the couch, let the silence settle in. 2 days later, she came back. A knock. Then keys fumbling in the lock, then pounding, harder this time. "Miles, open up." Her voice cracked. I didn't move, just sat there in the dark. Through the peephole, I watched her spot the boxes. She froze, hands trembling as she stared down at the life she no longer had access to. Another round of banging. "Miles!" Still, I said nothing. Eventually, she walked away. The next morning, Jared called. "Dude," he said, skipping any small talk. "What the hell went down in Lisbon?" "What did she say?" I asked, looking out at the street below. "She's falling apart. Said you left her after an argument, crying to Lena, posting cryptic crap everywhere. Total chaos." I let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "Did she mention flying across the ocean just to sleep with Julian?" Dead silence. Then I sent him everything. Screenshots, details, evidence. A minute passed. Jesus. She's finished. Word traveled fast. Jared, Lena, everyone started pulling away from her. A few sent apologies. Others just faded out of her life entirely. I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. But Ava didn't retreat quietly. Instead of letting things go, she took to the internet, scattering vague messages laced with spite, cryptic lines about betrayal, emotional wounds, and toxic manipulators. Subtle at first. Then came the messages, always from strange numbers, ricocheting between teary remorse and seething rage like someone locked in a cycle they couldn't escape. One night, my phone buzzed. It was my manager. "Hey Miles, just a heads up. HR got an odd anonymous email about you. It's nothing serious, but figured you should know." I didn't need confirmation. I already knew exactly who was behind it. That was it. Ending the relationship hadn't been enough for her. Now she wanted to drag my name through the dirt. I couldn't just stand by while she tried to torch everything I'd built. By the next morning, I was across the table from Daniel, the attorney I trusted most. I laid it all out. Her manipulations, the stalking, the slander. He listened intently, occasionally jotting something down. When I walked out of his office, we had a clear plan. Issue a cease and desist. Not dramatic, just direct, lawful, and airtight. No more back and forth. No more second chances. That same afternoon, Ava was formally served at her workplace. The envelope was discreet, placed squarely on her desk. No fuss, just clarity. There wasn't a scene, just quiet. The document spelled it out in black and white. Stop the harassment, end the lies, or face legal action. 2 days of silence followed. Then a final message came from another burner number. You think you've won? You're a joke. Hope you enjoy being alone. I didn't answer. I just blocked the number. And that was the end of it. News filtered back through mutual contacts. She completely spiraled after receiving the letter. Tried spinning more stories, but no one was buying into it anymore. The facts were too plain to ignore. Slowly, people began to pull away. This wasn't revenge. That was never the goal. I just needed her gone. From my space, from my thoughts. For the first time in what felt like ages, I slept soundly. No more spiraling thoughts, no resentment, no, what could I have done differently? And the most satisfying part? I didn't need to retaliate. I just stepped back. The truth handled everything. Almost a year has passed now. We've never crossed paths again. After the fallout, she moved in with Julian. I heard scattered updates. They gave it a shot, but it fell apart fast. He threw her out not long after. Same script, new audience. Eventually, she packed up and left the state. Maybe she thought a new location would erase the wreckage, but I wasn't concerned. I had my own life to rebuild. Found a new home. Reconnected with a tighter, more sincere group of people. I spent my weekends on bike trails, working with my hands, finally breathing without a constant weight on my chest. And looking back, the wisest choice I ever made was leaving without fanfare, no confrontations, no drawn-out arguments, just the truth, standing untouched. The sting of betrayal fades when you stop trying to repair people who never wanted to be whole. Once you start recognizing the patterns, the gaslighting, the games, you realize their chaos was never yours to carry. Sometimes, my mind drifts to that morning in Lisbon. Ava's laughter echoing under the sun, everything looking picture perfect. But it wasn't. That trip didn't mark a new beginning. The real shift happened the moment I walked away and never turned around. Now, when she crosses my mind, it's like background static, faint, powerless, no anger, no grief, just quiet. And if I took anything from that chapter, it's this. Peace is worth more than any form of revenge. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.